Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today with a Metro Exodus news update. A very important announcement came regarding the PC version of Metro Exodus. That being that it's no longer available on Steam and is going to be available exclusively through the Epic Games Store. Naturally, fans are quite displeased with this decision. There's been a lot of outcry on social media. So we're going to be going through the press release that came from Deep Silver as well as Epic. I'll be giving my thoughts on them afterwards. And so now, let's get into that press release. Epic Games and Deep Silver today announced a partnership that will see the digitally distributed PC version of the highly anticipated Metro Exodus released on February 15, 2019, solely through the Epic Games Store. Metro Exodus is amazing, and it's deservedly one of the most anticipated PC titles of 2019, said Tim Sweeney, founder and CEO of Epic. We are partnering with Deep Silver to launch Metro Exodus, underpinned by Epic's marketing support and commitment to offering an 88% revenue split, enabling game creators to further reinvest in building great games and improving the economics of game stores for everyone. We are delighted to partner with Epic to bring the digital PC version of Metro Exodus to market, said Dr. Clemens Kondratitz, CEO at Deep Silver. Epic's generous revenue terms are a game changer that will allow publishers to invest more into content creation or pass on savings to the player. By teaming up with Epic, we will be able to invest more into the future of Metro and our ongoing partnership with series developer 4A Games to the benefit of our Metro fans. Here's the very important part. Any customer with an outstanding pre-order for Metro Exodus on PC through any digital retailer will receive their game as expected. This meaning that if you were to have pre-ordered Metro Exodus through Steam or somewhere else, you are still going to get your game there. Here's the dangerous game that 4A Games is playing though, is switching platforms for incoming consumers who are maybe going to find out about Metro later, are now playing with fire because folks may have had $60 reserved for Metro Exodus, then they're seeing this exclusivity deal. Anthem's demo just dropped this past weekend. Maybe they played it, they liked it, but they wanted to really give their money to the Metro team. Instead now, they might just go to Anthem. They're making a costly decision very soon before the game's launch. At this point in time, I believe 15 days before the game drops. They're deciding, let's change the platform that we're releasing on. Anyway, this post does conclude by saying, in addition, Deep Silver will release Metro 2033 Redux and Metro Last Light Redux to the Epic Games Store later this year. It doesn't say anything about exclusivity for that. As I said in the beginning, naturally people are very ticked off about this decision because I feel there's less time for consumers to react to it. It's so close to launch, and there's one obvious reason this decision has been made, and there's a reason why. We just saw it with Ubisoft, and we're gonna see it again after this Metro game and more times in the future. It's money. At the end of the day, these developers, these publishers, are businesses. And when you have a company like Epic offering a digital platform where, hey, you can earn almost 20% more on our platform than if you went over to Steam. That is such an easy sell for so many companies who only see the green. It does not matter. I know folks don't like the decision. I know they're upset with it, and I'm not taking that away from you, so don't misunderstand me. All I'm saying is we can't act surprised that a company is gonna act like a company. At the end of the day, their best interest is to stay afloat and to increase their bottom line. What's the best way of doing that? Going to a platform that's gonna give you more money that isn't irrelevant. The only positive I can see of this is if there is a lot of people who do pick up this game on the Epic Games Store and we do see an increased amount of income for 4A Games, maybe there's free DLC down the line. Maybe we see a lot more patches instantly. This could speed up the process in some way. What's interesting is we just saw this happen with The Division 2 and Ubisoft, and now we're seeing it again not too long after with Metro. I think what's interesting there is because you have Ubisoft, which is a humongous company, gargantuan, and then you have 4A Games, which is still a AAA developer in many ways, but is much smaller, more condensed than others out there that we know about. I find it interesting because both of them have the same objectives, but yet completely different titles and ways of handling it. I think it was more of a knee-jerk reaction on the Metro side of things because, well, we're so close to launch and now they're seeing the extra money. In fact, it kind of worries me a little bit. How confident are they in the product if they're gonna jump for a little extra money this close to launch and screw over a bunch of consumers? Ubisoft is a bit different. They did it a couple of months in advance where fans could properly react if they wanted to actually still pre-order it or if they wanted to just cancel things and back out entirely. There was time to react for that. I guess the difference here is that for Metro, if you were to have already pre-ordered on Steam and you were interested in the game, nothing really changes for you. You still have the game available to you and you still play it through Steam. It's just now any purchases afterwards are only on the Epic Game Store. My biggest gripe with all of this is really the fake surprise that companies are going to do this. Their goal at the end of the day is to increase their bottom line. That is forever going to be their objective as long as they are a company that wants to stay afloat and people want to keep their jobs. It's hard to do what companies like CD Projekt does, which is own the GOG store where they are able to make money through that, along with games from CD Projekt Red and so on, and then in turn they can just churn out free DLC for consumers like it's nobody's business. It's a unique situation that sadly we can't see all too often, and the only promising thing we'll see is after these deals are in place, once the games come out, like The Division 2, like Metro Exodus, do we see a difference from other games that come out outside of those platforms, where we've seen plenty of games come out outside of the Epic Games Store that have free DLC, free content, tons of updates. So what is the difference when you go to the Epic Games Store? Will there be that sense of urgency? Will there be more money to flick where instead we can get an update a week in advance compared to usual? Those are the little changes I'm personally going to be looking for. Otherwise, it just ends up being a move that is to make money, which in turn is quite greedy and doesn't benefit anybody but themselves and becomes a very self-centered decision. Personally, I want to wait for these games to come out before I really start freaking out about going over to the Epic Games Store. Now I know folks have an issue with the reviews on the Epic Games Store or lack thereof. Also, the refund policy is a big point of contingence for that store. So there's a lot of work to be done, which is why I get fans getting upset, because there's so much to be done by Epic, but yet they're just flicking cash everywhere and getting exclusivity deals because money, money, money. It's all that Fortnite money, man. I mean, in a way, Fortnite has been pretty positive for the industry when you think about it. It's starting to break down some of the cross-play barriers, and on top of that, we're seeing a store that does have a world of potential. I know exclusivity is something that is in a way sort of new to the PC market when you think about it, because we have, of course, like the PlayStation and Xbox exclusives where PC fans, I think, over the years have become adjusted to, okay, I can't access that game because it's on a console, but now it's just another client away, which is a new form of frustration that requires a little bit of adjustment. And I think also it'll be very interesting to see Steam sales versus Epic Game Store sales as time goes on. Naturally, Steam will take the cake in sales. Otherwise, I don't think Epic would be pretty much paying people to come exclusively onto their platform. I think that's the other part that folks don't look at is we see the 88% revenue split and we think that's exactly why they're staying exclusive. But just like Sony or Microsoft, when something becomes exclusive to your platform, you have to put cash down right then and there and say, like, we want you to stay on our platform. Here's hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions, for your next game or your next update or your next DLC, which in the terms of a game like Metro Exodus, that can be very beneficial. With Ubisoft, it's a bit different because that's such a giant company. They probably already have the money to begin with. But with 4A Games having that type of money, I'm going to be very interested to see what they do with that. But still, like I said, I don't want to take away from folks who are frustrated because I totally get it. Exclusivity sucks in many ways, and especially in this form where it's on another client. I know PC users already have enough places to log into to get access to their games between like Origin, Uplay, Bethesda, Net, Steam, now Epic Games Store. That's just 5 that come right off the top of my head. And I imagine over time more will come. And the reason for that is because it cuts out the middleman. If you can cut out Steam, if you can cut out Epic Games Store, and like Bethesda, you can have Bethesda Net, where it's just you, the consumer, and Bethesda, there's less money being divided. Like I said, it all boils down to money. It's crazy, right? It all boils down to that green stuff, and that's how these companies make decisions. So like I said, you cut out that middleman, you increase the bottom line, or in this case, if you are not big enough like a Deep Silver to really make a reputable library of titles and open up your own digital store, you go to the Epic Games Store where the most money can be made. You're always going to see this type of stuff. This will not be the last you see of it. I don't think people will get less angry over it, but I think folks should try to remove some of the shock and awe factor from it, and in turn, maybe we can get a more objective take on it, not just like, frig this stinks, man. Like, let's get beyond that and let's think of a solution to this. And in my opinion, it's speaking with your wallet. If you don't like this, pull out your pre-order. Don't pre-order in the first place, but pull out your pre-order. Don't buy the game. If you are going to buy the game, you can buy it used at GameStop and not support the developers that way and the publishers that way. That's probably the best way of doing it, in my opinion, if you really want to stick it to them and say, hey, this sucks. And we've seen it happen before, right? We've seen companies release games thinking they'll be okay and that consumers will buy it anyways, and consumers in turn have spoken with their wallets. Gamers aren't the idiots that a lot of companies think they are nowadays, so maybe 4A Games and Deep Silver will learn a very tough lesson this way. We'll see in due time, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of this in the comments down below. Fire away, ladies and gentlemen. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook. Those links are in the description down below, along with my Patreon. Do consider supporting that, as it fuels all the content I create here. Stay sexy, stay active, I love you all. Peace.